Williams here. So for assignment 2, you've kind of got, it should be 2 pages that are going to be stapled together with one another. So for assignment 2, these are the exact types of problems that we were just looking at. And I would just like for you to make sure that you are setting them up the exact same way that we did with the previous problems. So I'll do this very first one with you, and then I'll kind of turn you loose to start to work on the rest on your own. So that first one says, your younger sibling can run 3/8 of a mile in 1/8 of 1 hour. How long will it take him to run 1 mile? All right, so your first step is to try and create a rate. So you've got 3/8 of a mile is what he can run in 1/8 of an hour. Okay, so again, I'm setting up my ratios. And so then, how long will it take him to run 1 mile? So which piece do I know, the miles or the hours? Well, I know that I want him to run 1 mile. So I'm going to turn this into 1 mile. And then if you remember from the last assignment in this video, in order to get to 1, you are always going to multiply by its reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of 3/8? The reciprocal of 3/8 would be 8/3, because 3/8 times 8/3 is going to give you 1. So for example, if I went over here and I said 3/8 times 8/3, what that's going to give me is 3 times 8 is going to give me 24. And 8 times 3 is going to give me 24. And so 24 divided by 24 is going to give me 1. So that's why that process works. Okay. So then if I multiply the top by 8/3, then I'm going to multiply the bottom by 8/3. And so now I've got 1/8 times 8/3. And so if you remember from the last video, before you start multiplying straight across, always look to see if your diagonal numbers have a greatest common factor other than 1. Well, 1 and 3 do not have any greatest common factors other than 1. However, if you look diagonally, your 8 and your 8 do have a greatest common factor, both of those other than 1, and both of those can be divided by 8. So when you divide both of those by 8, you're going to get 1 and 1. And so now 1 times 1 gives you 1, and 1 times 3 gives you 3. And so now I know that they can run 1 mile in 1/3 of an hour. Okay, and so that's your answer for that particular piece. How long will it take him to run 1 mile? It will take him 1/3 of an hour. All right, the next piece. All right, so how far could he run in 1 hour? So now we're flipping it. And so you start with that same exact rate that they gave you. So 3/8 of a mile is how far he could run in 1/8 of an hour. But now it's changed. So now it's how far could he run in 1 hour? And so in order to go to 1 hour, now we're trying to move to 1 whole hour. So to get from 1/8 to 1, and again, in order to get to 1, you always multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/8 would be to multiply by 8 over 1. And so if you wanted to see how that process worked again, it'd be 1/8 times 8 over 1. Going straight across, that would give you 8 over 8, or it's just going to give you a value of 1. So if you multiply the bottom by 8, then you're going to have to multiply the top by 8 over 1. So times 8 over 1. And so now going off to the side, 3/8 times 8 over 1. I'm going to look to my diagonals first. So 3 and 1 don't have any greatest common factors other than 1, but 8 and 8 can both be divided by 8. And so that's going to give me 1 and 1. And so then I'm going to get 3 times 1 gives me 3. And then 1 times 1 gives me 1 for a value of 3. So that means that if you were to let your younger sibling go out and run for 1 whole hour, they would be able to run for 3 miles. So they could run 3 miles in 1 hour. Okay, and so for each one of these, that's the whole process that you're doing. You're following the instructions of what the question is asking. You're making sure that you're showing all of your work. You've got lots of labels. You've got arrows. Make sure that your work looks exactly like mine. So that's for the first part of assignment 2. Okay, then if you flip it over, there's a total of 9 different problems that are really similar to the ones that we were just talking about. So just make sure that you fill those in and answer those complete sentences if they're ones that are asking for certain like descriptions. And then the last piece of assignment 2 is this partner activity. So if you'll get with a partner, or it could be a small group, but you should just make sure that you are doing the work for partner A and for partner B. They give you the problem along the left side, and then you are working with your partner to make sure that you end up getting the exact same answers. Okay, So just make sure that you do partner A and partner B for the problems that I've given you. And so this is assignment 2. You can work together. You can work in partners or in small groups. Just make sure that all of your work has labels and arrows and it's as detailed as the examples that I've given you. All right, great. So that's assignment 2. And then moving into your next assignments, just